clicking, how much they owe. Where at a time when the business is making zero, zero production,
correct,
zero revenue.
Okay.
So I think these are anomalies that need to be addressed, because as Dr. Virmani correctly says, at the end of all this, there must be, something left.
Worth saving.
And,
yeah. There has to be something to save. Okay, so the three forces. Number one is, it's all worthless if we never restart the economy at all. Number two, there has to be something left to restart, so you have to save it. Number three, you have to ensure the jobs survive. And number four, you have to go for the kill when it comes and literally go 2x, 3x, 4x the kind of FDI to rope in all the industries that want to relocate from China, because after they've done it and they've gone to Thailand and Vietnam, next opportunity might come next 20 years later. Ashish Vaid, why don't you quickly come in on this, specifically in the help that is now required to keep companies afloat, otherwise viable businesses afloat?
Yeah, so today we were also with the Honorable MSME Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, on a webinar, and I must say the government is quite proactive. We've also been with the Honorable CIM also for like 3-4 webinars. I just want to share with you a few thoughts after listening to Mr. Virmani and Mr. Madhavji. See, first thing is that I think our government is fully seized with the issue. That it's very interesting to know that there are two main points. One is the health and then is the economy. Luckily, as our Prime Minister said, we are jaan hai to jaan hai. So we have tried to save lives with the lockdown of 40 days. Now 40 days is coming to an end. Now going forward, we don't know what's in future for us.
Correct.
Luckily, we've contained it very, very well till now.
Fingers crossed,
so,
yes.
I'll just take 2 minutes.
Yeah, finish it out. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, we've contained it extremely well, the health aspect. With just 30,000 cases till date, I think we're doing extremely well. Well, other countries are in lakhs, as you know, and millions for that matter. Secondly, we come to the economy part of it. The economy obviously has taken a beating with the lockdown of 40 days. However, the positive signs is that the IMF also, like a lady like Geeta Gopi Krishnan has said, that even there are only 3 positive economies left in the Southeast in Asia, which is India, China, and Indonesia. So I think we have a great opportunity here. Today, the MSC Minister, Mr. Gadkari ji, who was on the webinar with us, he said we have to take this with both our hands. We have to grab this opportunity where the world is against China and there is a resentment. We have to grab this opportunity. Now, how do we grab this? So there are various ways. One is, of course, imports which are there. The imports which have to come in, we have to put nice anti-dumping duties on them so that our production is safeguarded, as our production is great. And similarly, the exports which we come, we have to incentivize them. Also, we have to create special economic zones where incentives are given to these manufacturers, whether it's be plastics, whether it be automotive parts, whether it be cellular phones, whether it be anything, where they are given opportunities to export from that zone, and we can take on the world's best. So that's the other thing. So now, having said, sorry.
Yeah, carry on. Finish your thought. Then I'll rope in Mr. Jain.
Yeah. So what I'm just trying to say is that this is the time where, luckily, this is a God-given opportunity, so to say, and we have to take this with.
We have to jump in. Honestly, every CM I'm speaking to, I'm asking him this question. At least they get reminded that they need to do this, because if this business relocates to Vietnam or Thailand, we ain't going to see it again for the next 20 years. Capital investment doesn't change rapidly.
Luckily, what the good thing is that we, like our MSME minister mentioned, that the SBI, he's worked with that, giving 20% working capital enhancement to every MSME.
Exactly.
Secondly, interest rates have gone down by 5% to 5% for all of them. Now we are expecting the financial package any day. What is hurting the MSME today is the wage and salary bill for March and April, because April was a washout, March was 10 days washout. May we don't know what will happen.
Maybe half washout. Yeah, maybe half. Okay, just stay with me, sir. Let me get Bhanu Pratap Jain into this conversation. Bhanu Pratap Jain, in terms of priorities, sir, to keep viable businesses afloat, 2-3 mahine ki support dene, how do we do it?
See, right now, the question is of survival of MSMEs, because never in the history of the current generation of entrepreneurs has such a big calamity come in, wherein we are looking at many months or probably even years to recover from, because productions have ceased, orders have been cancelled, the cash flow has totally stopped, receivables are next to zero, and on top of it, we are burdened with the Disaster Management Act, wherein it has been imperative that we pay the salaries fully to all the workers. And many people are finding it hard, very difficult. Now, the MSME sector has been one of the largest contributors of direct and indirect taxes in India.
Correct.
And this is the time we need the support of the government. On a humanitarian ground, we want that the salaries should be paid to all workers. We don't want to cut. But the question is, a business who's employing 10, 20 to up to 800 or 1000 workers is also classified as an MSME unit. Now, the salary bill, which is running into crores of rupees, they are finding it difficult to get that cash flow right now, and they are burdened with a very harsh law.
Okay, so what specifically, Bhanu Pratap Jain, should it be specifically intervention in helping MSMEs pay salaries? Should it
Yes.
be the 0 interest or 2% interest loans that there is now conversation that perhaps if the loan is guaranteed by the government that the banks will be more helpful? What is exactly that you would prefer, sir?
We are looking at some package from the government wherein either they share in part of the salaries, because we want the workers to get their pay. We don't want to cut. But the problem is the cash flows are forcing us to the contrary. Now, either the government pitches in or allows us to pay them living expenses because nobody is spending on conveyance, they are getting free ration from the government. So definitely their living expenses are much lower than what they were. Now,
Yeah, sorry, I think we lost you for a second. Yeah, carry on.
another problem, the government has allowed essential services factories to be open with 50% attendance. Now it has come to our knowledge that people who have asked the 50% workers to come, most of them are not coming to work because they have been told by others that when you are getting a pay without working, why do you want to go and work in this environment?
Okay, so,
So
it's become
even those industries
okay, so it's become
And work
disincentivized.
are not being because
Okay.
of this law.
Okay, so coming to office, not only the scare, the medical scare, but there's also an economic disincentivization. Let me quickly get an Anurag Katriyar into this. Anurag, at this point of time, Mr. Katriyar, when it comes specifically to interventions, we had these conversations on NewsX before, and it's boiling down to two kinds. Either help pay the wage bill, which at least maintains employment and helps businesses stay afloat, or provide or make sure the banks provide by guaranteeing percentage of the loans at very low interest rates. Which way of the fence would you lie on, sir?
So in fact, I'd like to start my answer by saying that it has to be three-phase thing. In the first phase, of course, what we have right now is human problem. We need to ensure that there is enough food on the plate of every employee. I don't think it's a matter of intent. It's purely lack of ability to pay salaries, which is holding us back from paying them full. And I think, in fact, government, rather than penalizing people for paying partially, should reward them for at least keeping their kitchen fires burning.
Yeah.
I think that attitude has to come in. Failing which, you will have everybody defaulting for no fault of theirs. There is no money in the system. There is nobody sitting with that kind of cash reserves who can sustain paying salaries for months together. Number two is, I mean, what is ESIC coffer made out of? It is made out of our contribution as entrepreneurs and that of our employees. And it is an insurance scheme to be used in case of emergency like this. Put it to good use. If you don't want to do that completely, you know, do a bit of DBT and maybe bit of food grain distribution through PDS, just to keep everything running. Now coming to the next part is how to kickstart our business. As is very evident from everyone, nobody is left with any cash reserve to kickstart the business. In our case, you also have to realize we have all stocks as perishables. So we need fresh money for our stock as well. At that point of time, I think government need to come up with RBI essentially has to come up with easy loans, which are
The problem that we've been having here is, and I've had several conversations on this, is the RBI has cut the interest rates. The banks now have the money, but they don't want to loan it out because they are risk averse. So we need the RBI at least guaranteeing a part of those loans. Otherwise, the banks are not going to. They're just going to park the money back with the RBI. There's a problem there. Just stay with me, sir. I have time. I'll come back to you in just a second. Let me quickly get in Mr. Arol into this conversation. Mr. Arol, specifically, sir, what is the most efficacious intervention that you see would be useful?
Rishabh, good evening and good evening to all the distinguished panelists here. Thanks for having me again. Well, I can just talk about from the IT industry perspective, right? And as you're all aware, that IT industry is close to about 180 billion in India, with about 4 million employees, direct employees. And we're talking about, like say, the sectors such as IT services, business process outsourcing, products and engineering, R&D kind of sectors. And if you look at the IT organizations, the cost structure, typically 65 to 70% of the cost goes into the labor cost itself, right? Having said that, today, with so much, say, crisis that is happening in our market space, particularly in the US and, the Western countries, we are really kind of having lots of challenges in terms of running the businesses, particularly for the SMEs, because larger companies, they have, kind of arrangements with the customers on a long-term contract, so they will be able to survive through the crisis period. But when it comes to the SMEs, they primarily have a different kind of a contract arrangement. It could be staff augmentation, time and material kind of an arrangement, or a small engagement running into months or whatever that is. So with that said, if the customer kind of shuts down on a project or just terminates a contract, we are in deep trouble. And a lot of companies are already feeling the impact. And I'm very, very proud to say that we are, as a part of Hyderabad and Telangana government, our IT minister, Honorable K.T. Ramarao Garu, is actually very proactive in this context. And he has already met with our union IT minister. And he's already made some recommendations in terms of what could be done to be able to protect and safeguard the MSME, industry.
Okay, I'll just come back to you in a second, sir. I'm just going to put my heads around, and then we'll come back again on specifics. If I can quickly rope in Sanjay Agarwal. Sanjay Agarwal, we've been having these extended conversations now for several weeks and months. What needs to be done immediately? Because certain actions can only be effective if they're done quickly.
Rishabh, I think the...
Rishabh, is that a question to me?
Yeah, for Mr. Agarwal.
Done immediately is for the government to... Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, please? Okay. So the first thing that the government needs to do is to realize that we have to save lives, but we have to save businesses also if we want to save lives. And the problem is that what is happening today is that again most of the states have issued a circular that the full month salary for April has to be paid, and the same one assumes would happen for the month of May also. For businesses which were already shut down in the month of March, now again being asked to pay salaries, full salaries without any consideration for the level of salary. Whatever be the minimum wage in the state, let us say the state minimum wage in a state is 10,000 rupees. But the orders that the state home ministry, home secretaries are issuing are saying that please pay full salary to every employee, even if it is 1 lakh rupees a month, 2 lakh rupees a month.
So what do we do specifically, sir? We can hear you fine, don't worry. What do we do specifically?
While the government in this, what we need to do is that the government must realize that there must be a minimum support. That was firstly the government's duty, but it instead expects the private entrepreneur to bear. So if it expects the private entrepreneur to bear the social security cost, it should not be forced to bear unreasonable costs. Minimum wages, nobody disputes, should be paid. But beyond minimum wages, businesses should not be forced to pay high salaries, number one. Beyond a point, it should be a percentage, 50% maybe. The second point is, for every rupee of salary which I pay to a worker, whether he was on duty or not,
yes,
I am paying 33 paisa roughly for ESI and Provident Fund to the government.
Yes.
Now, I am already bearing a loss, having to bear the cost of paying a worker when my factory and my enterprise, my shop is not worked at all for the whole month.
Correct.
On top of that, the government at best is being very nice by agreeing to postpone my Provident Fund or ESI liability for 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, no, I agree with the premise that is not
So
a that's not a
100
lifeboat.
rupees
That's a
actually becomes 133.
yeah, that's a relief. It's not a lifeboat, and we require lifeboats, and lifeboats are required very
No,
quickly.
that's not a lifeboat, that is only, that's not a battering I am getting.
Yes.
But now coming to the lifeboat, I think the caption for your program today is very apt, which is New Deal. I think we have to think big. We have to think on the national scale and on a scale in which we are talking about the future of the country, not just small penny counting accountants who think of themselves as economists who are trying to manage the deficits and of 3% or 3.5% or 4%. We need to think on a broad scale.
No,
Look at the New Deal which you have mentioned.
No, you're bang on. I come in.
Look at the
Let me just quickly. No, so let's
let's
analyze this. Just stay with me, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's get in Mr. Bangera into this conversation. Mr. Bangera, thanks for your patience, sir. At this point of time, what is the grand scale things that we need to do? We've done the tiny adjustments. Something grand has to come, and we definitely need a new deal now.
Yeah, I think all the speakers have mentioned very clearly what is that to be done. But I have a very simple formula. That is. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. PCR, can you sort the echo out, please? Yeah, but Mr. Bangera, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, this the first thing is the sustain, boost and develop. That is the first phase of it. The sustain, for the sustaining means sustain the MSME now. So how to sustain it? That they require the next, that April, May, June, 3 months we require a support, that is to sustain ourselves. That is, support means the making the payment of the wages and salaries. That is one part. That is another thing is that the boost, what is the booster is required? Low cost funding. Low cost funding is the low interest rates for the, particularly for the working capital and term loan. That is to be done. And third part is next is the development. Development part is requires. See, this plan should be 18 months, not for 3 months or 6 months. First 3 months will be the period wherein we will not be able to get up and start walking fast. Second push will be after 3 months, we will be definitely getting up and walking. And after that, we'll be definitely looking into the things of the business and for that. And now, the second part of it, my talk will be on the make in India, make for the India, and make for the world. Make in India is that mean what we have to make in India, we need not. I know that today's cabinet decision is that they will be inviting all those people who entrepreneurs and industries from China who are packing up and going elsewhere. They have already gone to Vietnam and Thailand. Then now they have to come to India. That means they cannot forget the industries here and particularly MSMEs, which is contributing to the extent of 45% of the national production. And then the labor force is the largest labor force after the agriculture. They providing the largest labor force. Now we require really sustain this MSMEs, boost particularly booster dose, and then development part of it should be supported. Then we will definitely make in India.
Okay, so all these three things. Let me quickly take them across the panel.
Important.
I want 20 minutes.
I feel that.
Okay, let me take them across the panel quickly. Professor Madhav Nalapad, number one, there is no doubt that that these companies now need to be saved. Doing adjustments here and there and partial relief isn't going to save a company. They need money now. Now, how do we get that money moving tomorrow, day after, 3 days from now?
First of all, let's understand that without MSMEs, you don't have large units.
Yeah.
Most large units depend on MSMEs for a large part of their component needs.
Correct.
So if you say, okay, large units can resume and MSMEs, the MSMEs supplying them components cannot, they can't resume, they can't do anything with that. And I'm also informed of some incredible regulations by some state governments that there's a single coronavirus case in the factory, the entire factory had to shut down for 3 months. Now, I don't understand who suggested this kind of policy and why it was adopted. Who is going to agree to a large unit being open if it is a hostage to a single COVID case over which that person has no control? So I do believe that we have to work out in the MSMEs, which are the sectors that are affected, how much they need, and especially the workers and the running capital, these have to be provided. There's no point now.
Okay.
Today the banks are hanging on to the interest rates.
No, the banks
Credit card
are-
companies
yeah,
are
they've
hanging
hung
the
on to it
interest
for
rates.
long enough. I
The
think-
reality is, what is going to happen? No, the tax authorities are hanging on to their tax rates. Look, at the end of all this, you might find that your tax base, your interest base, and your credit base falls by half, and all of you are going to be in serious trouble unless you know, unless the host is alive, the person, the units that depend on the host
Yeah,
cannot survive.
I keep saying this, 22% of nothing is still nothing. Ashish Vaid, now we need intervention quickly, because if we wait 3-4 months, the level of the intervention required will just keep on exponentially increasing. What is possible quickly?
So you're absolutely right, Rishabh. What we believe is giving in time.
I have a few points too.
Yeah, I'm coming to you, sir.
We see is giving in time is giving twice, as we always say. So we believe that the financial package is expected over this weekend. So I think let's hope for that. That's number one. Number two, I think with the financial strains our government is in, at the best we can hope for deferments and we can hope for soft loans. Like somebody earlier said, we have PF and EXIC, which are really flush with money. Both the funds put together, I'm told, is in the region of 3 lakh crores. Now, if we can get wages and salaries paid out of that for 3 months, I think it can tide over all the MSMEs, which employs close to 10 crore people. I think we can easily tide over that for a long period of time, for 1 year. I mean, if you give 3 months of that salary at a repo rate, and we can recover that after a year, I
Yeah.
think we'll be...
Okay,
we'll
that's
be-
practicable and that can be done quickly.
So, Rishabh, my whole thing is basically based on deferments and soft loans at repo rates.
Okay, let's work with that logic. Mr. Jain, come in.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Banuji, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we have been talking about problems that the MSMEs are facing. Let's talk about certain possible solutions which are feasible that the government can take and which is really going to be a lifeline for us. As rightly pointed out by Mr. Vaid, that ESI and PF are flush with funds. So ESI should now is the right time to chip in, pay the salaries 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, as long as the lockdown continues. Now, one more point, we are talking only about wages. What about electricity bills?
Yeah.
We are being charged a hefty amount of fixed charges every month, which have been put in suspension mode for the lockdown. That means we can defer the payment, but we still need to pay them. Now, the cash flow is the same. So these fixed charges need to be waived off because production is not happening, work is not happening, there is no load on the infrastructure. Why are the electricity companies putting that pressure or the burden on us for the fixed charge? They should be immediately removed for at least 3 months, even if the lockdown opens. Next, the telephones are lying idle. The companies have 40, 50, 100 connections because of their workload. Now they are paying rent. For these 3 months, all utility bills which are being used in fixed charges of anything, I mean to say. Now there is one more alternative that the government can use. For the part of salaries that we do need to pay, the government can allow to us as input credit in future GST returns in case that they are unable to fulfill certain requirements, so that our cash flow, our working capital requirements are not hindered once we start production.
Or simply start expediting the GST refunds that were to come anyway. Mr. Katria, now come into the specifics of what can be done quickly.
Now another thing, Rishabh.
Yeah, Banuji, finish your thought. Banuji, finish your thought, then I rope in Mr. Katria. Banuji, finish your thought.
The EPF has put in conditions for paying the share. We request that those conditions should be removed and the EPF should be paying the contribution of all MSME units in the way they have prescribed, not the condition of below 100 workers with 90% below 15,000. Those conditions should immediately be removed, and there should be some income tax concessions, the same as has been offered to corporates at a lower rate of 22%. Partnerships, proprietorships are being still charged at 30%. They should also come at
Okay, specificity.
Yeah.
So reduce the tax on partnerships and proprietorships. That's a way
right.
of which a lot of these small firms are run. Mr. Katria, specifics.
Yeah. No, I think a couple of other things, in our industry specifically, I think we need input tax credit on our GST to be restored. I think that is a very, very big drain on us.
Okay.
Considering that on most of the things, it's 18% plus. Our cost of setting up a new project has gone up by 20%. Our operating cost has gone up by 10%. And I think denial of input tax credit is against the basic grain of GST. That's number one. Number two, with the business moving in the new post-COVID era towards e-commerce, I think we need a more robust e-commerce policy as well,
Okay.
which is equitable to all sides. And my final point, I think every stakeholder in the ecosystem, which includes RBI, taxman, government, everyone, they all have to realize that in the new post-COVID era, businesses cannot be done on the old terms of engagement. We all need to reimagine and redraft our relationship.
It has to be from
If
scratch.
everybody-
You're bang on. It has to be from scratch. It can't be that this is the model, let's tweak it a bit
Absolutely,
and
and
tweak it a
every
bit
stakeholder.
and adjust it. Your industry will have to start things. All right, welcome back. We have for weeks been discussing what we need to get the country going once we get past the medical scare of the corona pandemic. What we can do to save the businesses, the small businesses in this country that generate the employment, then save those jobs and move one step further, convert this into an opportunity and prepare for what is being called Chexit, the transfer of businesses from China to India. Now joining us on the telecast to help us further ideate these problems, we have Dr. Arvind Virmani, Chairman of the Foundation for Economic Growth and Welfare, Ashish Vaid, President Indian Merchants Chamber, Sanjay Agarwal from the PSG Chamber of Commerce Industry, Bhanu Pratap Jain, who is General Secretary of the Najafgarh Road Factories Association, Anurag Katriyar, National Restaurants Association of India President, J.R. Bangera is joining us, as is Bharani Kumar, and Madhav Nalapat, the Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Let me get started with Dr. Arvind Virmani. Dr. Virmani, as you see, in the economic front, we've seen several moves by the RBI to get in liquidity. There has been one package so far, sir, but specifically to keep India's small businesses afloat, which are really feeling the pain 2 months in. What can we do, sir?
I think the first requirement is to think clearly. And, we have done a lot of work at the Foundation for Economic Growth and Research.
Sir.
And you have to think in three buckets, as they call it, or three phases. The first is the phase we are in, the lockdown. People still don't seem to understand that under a lockdown, the only part which is functioning is essential commodities, which we estimate to be about 40% of the economy, and maybe the employment between 50 and 60. The employment obviously is harder to estimate. So only that part is functioning. There is supply and demand only for essential commodities. There is no supply of the rest, the so-called contact services or rest of the economy, which is 60%. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, zero.
And whether it's you, me, or the common man, all he has to do is buy essential commodities. So the issue for ordinary people is not one of stimulus and all that. It's either one of survival. If I have the savings to spend, like you and I probably do, even if we don't have a job, then we can buy essential commodities. There's nothing else we can buy. And if it's a poor man who doesn't have the saving, what the government has to do is make sure that he gets the food or the money to buy those essential commodities. So in this kind of a period, there is really, talking about employment is kind of, I find a little odd, if I may put it that way. No, but obviously we are going to come out of the lockdown phase, hopefully start by May 3rd. And so then we will be in what you could call a crisis phase, which we were in from before, but then we had the lockdown. Now, in that period, the key issue is going to be how much of the economy you unlock. We divided this into three sectors for the reason that essential is already open. About 10% is what you think of hospitality, etc., where the public fears of catching virus from other people. Some people will not be afraid and will be careless about it, but a lot of people will be scared and won't go out there. Anyway, leave that aside, that 10%. The rest of the 50% of the economy has to be opened up. Otherwise, there's no point talking about employment, talking about what fiscal injections, etc. If there are no jobs, if you shut down the economy and you don't open it, then I really don't I don't understand.
Okay, how do we,
can talk about
Dr. Budwani,
employment
how
and
do we,
job?
how do we
There is
keep
an
other,
issue of bankruptcy of firms.
yes, are those
Let me just
viable,
mention that,
otherwise
then I can
viable
take your
businesses
question.
keeping them alive?
I talked about human beings,
Yes.
but then also the businesses. Clearly,
Correct.
if they are locked down, but you have not suspended their legal obligation, for example, to pay rents, to pay interest, to repay debt, to have their employees or keep paying them 100%, then they are going to go bankrupt. And in that case also, if they go bankrupt, there will be no economy left,
Correct,
in 3
exactly the
months
point, yes.
for it to be employed again or to generate any employment.
So what do we do? Because there will be businesses that otherwise were unviable and already in debt. But there will be businesses that were perfectly viable 2 months ago, but suddenly they've had zero revenue. And if they shut down, obviously the people who run them lose and the people who are employed by them lose.
Absolutely. So the lockdown has to be phased out in my view. There is no question about it. To me, lockdown was necessary as shock therapy. They were unfortunately in a period when there is a communicable disease which is completely new and frightening. I think there were people 10, 15, 20% very careless people who were not getting the message that you have to be careful. You have to wear masks, you have to wash your hands, you have to keep a distance of 2 meters, etc., etc. That some danda, some shock therapy was needed. But I think that danda phase is over.
Okay.
And we must try to liberalize, opening up the economy, keeping in mind that these physical distancing and other rules will have to be maintained. For example, Section 144 will actually have to be strengthened. Section 144 is for public meetings as if somebody is agitating. No, we cannot allow gatherings of more than 4 people anywhere.
Correct.
Whether it's in a temple or mosque or in a wedding or anything. So these kind of physical distancing will have to be there. Only if the activity starts can you start thinking.
Okay, so number one is to
demand,
figure out how to start that activity, whether it's grade A, 25%, 30%, 40%, to get that activity started, which is both a public sector as well as the private sector being able to adopt models that will allow activity to restart.
We estimate 50% you can start freeing up, except the main exceptions are concentrated areas where there's a high concentration of population and high concentration of infections. And these are basically metropolitan areas, large cities. Why? Because they have slums where people are brought together and in close proximity.
And social distancing and even at home is almost impossible.
Let me just finish. We know from the Spanish flu that in London, one of the ways in which the Spanish flu spread rapidly in England was through the slums of that time. So those are the areas, unfortunately, Delhi may have slums and it may not, out of it only 30% may have, but unfortunately, we'll have to keep that, liberalize that slowly. But of course, there's no industry here. So much of industry is in small towns, in dispersed areas. Those have to be opened up. Agriculture is already part of essential commodities, whether it's manufacturing, mining, constructions in these outer areas outside the metropolitan areas will have to be opened up.
So what is a couple of questions before I let you go. Once we get past the opening up phase, you're right. If there is no economy, you can keep pumping money into it, nothing will happen. So you need to get the economy going. Once hopefully we get past that phase, obviously we're going to see a major GDP hit, sir, and things were already a bit stretchy to begin with. What intervention is possible to kick things along a bit?
So there are two things. In a crisis, firstly, you have to focus. I don't agree with this top-down approach which says set 10% stimulus, 15% because England is doing 30% or something. You have to do it from bottom up. We know certain services, hospitality, transport, etc. will be negatively affected. So you have to estimate what those are and see how much is required. And then there were certain sectors which were already suffering because we've all forgotten, but the growth rate had declined in 2019, right? So there were some sectors which were already suffering. So one set is these set of sectors which have to be sustained through the bankruptcy, where you need a combination of credit and some kind of a risk guarantees from the government. The third stage, and I'll finish with that because you have other people waiting. The third stage is really to make sure that the economy comes back quickly to normal. And that is where the reforms, the kind of reforms we were talking about in 2019 to revive the economy, whether it's labor reform, land reform, agriculture, etc. That will require another discussion. But then all those issues come back into play. Tax reform, for example, is very important because it connects to the fiscal stimulus, and similarly expenditure reform. So all those issues will have to be put into play as soon as, soon after this, as I said, this 50% is free.
Okay.
So those issues will have to be discussed. I hope government is already thinking about it, and will have some kind of a thing ready, 4 months' time.
Well, I've told they had a meeting regarding this today itself. So fingers crossed that this is happening in some regard. Dr. Bimani, thanks very much for joining us. Let me open this up with the others. Professor Madhav Nalapad, the meeting that's happened today has specifically taken on the issues of using what they're calling a plug-and-play approach to any investment that wants to come in from abroad, and is talked about pushing through with the reforms. Now we need this happen as of yesterday.
Well, I'd like to say that I agree fully with what Dr. Arvind Virmani has been saying. And of course, now, for example, in this particular round, the US and the UK, they're basically targeting jobs. If you take a loan and the loan is used for salaries, you don't have to pay back that loan. So essentially, it's a subsidy to keep people employed.
Correct.
And secondly, of course, you have a huge problem of running of capital for running your business. And there you need concessional terms. The Indian rate of interest is murderous. And again, frankly, all those who have got credit cards or bank loans, the banks are merely,
Much from scratch. The food might remain the same, but how the industry works will have to completely change. Mr. Bharani Kumar.
7.3 million people.
And you mentioned 5,000 crores a month last time we spoke with you.
Sorry?
And you mentioned 5,000 crores a month last time we spoke to you, which is now currently nil.
No, much more than that. Much more than that. 30,000 crore a year is our size.
But Mr. Bharani Kumar, specificity, sir.
Absolutely. All right. So very importantly, access to money is very important for SMEs. And what I'm looking at is at least the bank should look at enhancing LOCs. And when I talk about enhancement, it should be at least 50% LOC that will kind of feed the SMEs for 3 to 4 months of salaries to the employees.
Okay.
And again, this credit enhancement should be at least 90 to 120 days interest waiver, right? Coming with it. And also there should be a 12-month payback period on the enhancement credit, similar to what SB has done in the US. So that's very, very important. And another thing is, again, we talked about it in the past. It is expediting IT and GST returns because that's going to be really helpful in terms of getting cash onto the hands.
Is the easiest thing, and it's on the government books, and you don't have to worry about then waivers and clearances. It's just about getting money churning, if that's what we all agree on. Mr. Bangera, specific cities, sir.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to take much of your time. That the only 2 points I would say, that soft loan for the payment of wages, particularly for the April, May and June, 3 months soft loan we want, interest-free loan. That is the one thing. And second thing, the collateral-free loan for the operation part of it, particularly the term loan as well as the working capital. These two things are met, I think we can do. We know how to do business, we will do business, and definitely we will fight it out. And whatever has been done already to containing the pandemic, that COVID-19, and we appreciate that, but then now the time that protecting the MSMEs with definitely some kind of a concrete program and booster doses.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Okay, Sanjay Agarwal.
Something that can be done immediately is for the government to make sure that the PSU payments are released immediately. More than 40,000 crores of PSU payments are still stuck. Vendors who are being asked to pay their salaries and expenses and rent and fixed charges of electricity are still not being paid their bills. This is a very serious issue. This does not affect any deficit or anything. This is already a liability on the books of the government which is not being paid. One major issue is sovereign guarantee, which the finance ministry is not clearing for Bharat Sanchar Nigam. They've already given a 70,000 crore package. They are refusing to give the sovereign guarantee with which the BSNL could raise loans against which to pay its vendors. That is not happening. That's a very, very, very sorry situation. Then most of the PSUs are holding on to bank guarantees that vendors have to give for performance, and most of the MSMEs end up having 50 to 100% of the bank guarantee amount stuck as cash margin with the banks. Now that is money which could just, they have to only reduce those bank guarantees, let us say by 50 or 75%,
free up money.
or exempt or straight away release that whatever is the bank guarantee date, unnecessary extension should not be asked for. That's another 20-30,000 crores into the economy, which is neither in nobody's pocket. It's not in the government's pocket, it's not in the vendor's pocket, but he's suffering.
Which is particularly stuck. Okay, I'm short of time. Professor,
Then regarding the loans,
finish your thoughts, sir.
everybody
Yeah,
is
finish your
talking
thought.
about collateral-free loans. Yeah. No, but this is very important. Rishabh, please, yeah. The collateral-free loans are possible only if the government gives, I will say within inverted commas, first loss guarantee. Without first loss guarantee, none of these schemes work. The RBI gives an instruction to the banks. Banks say yes sir, but nobody gives a single paisa. On a first loss guarantee, the government can set about for 1 lakh crore of kitty that they set aside, maybe 10 lakh crores would be easily given, because banks would normally account for a 10 lakh or a 10 or 15%
NPA. Yes.
NPA.
Yes.
So that is
Okay,
something
so
that needs
that's
to
the
be done.
that's the guarantee.
The current
Okay.
credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs does not work at all.
Okay. Without that guarantee, then this credit guarantee scheme doesn't work unless the banks
In
know
10
that.
years, they have given just 30,000 crores.
Okay, that's okay. So, Professor
It doesn't
Nalapat,
work at all.
I'm desperately short of time, but Professor Nalapat, we need to get just the money moving. Now, in principle, we are now reprocessing things that we've been speaking on for now several weeks. So, about the GST refunds, I had this debate on non-payment of electric charges and phone bills and gas bills, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've had specifics on loan guarantees or zero interest loans to be given up very, very rapidly for several weeks. I think it's just about getting it done now. I think we have a general consensus of what we need to do.
Look, Rishabh, the fact is in 1991 there was a crisis. Now, you could have fixed that crisis with a band-aid and immediate solutions, but no. What happened was a major overhaul of regulatory structure.
Correct.
A major overhaul of the way government looks at industry was done under P.V. Narasimha Rao. And those reforms took us forward very substantially for many years. The point is, this particular crisis is as much of a crisis as what happened during that time. And it needs structural reform. And this final point, that, government doesn't have money and that kind of thing, I mean, that's traditional talk in the finance ministry, that every budget is planned looking at, how much you can get for a particular year. You have to look at 3, 4, 5 years. And if you don't spend a lot of money now, then you're in a problem. And may I say, Rishabh, a housewife has to cut her cloth according to has to spend depending on the money she has. A government has much more freedom. The Americans, the British, the Japanese, the Germans, the Chinese, they're not spending the money they have. They're spending the money they need.
Okay.
And that's what we should do
Spend
here.
the money you have versus you need, not the time to worrying about deficit spending. Bhanu Pratap Jain, along with the specificities, the approach has to now become a larger approach. It can't just be, we need particular solutions to particular problems and then take this as an opportunity to solve all the problems that we've been sitting on for many, many years.
Rishabh, is that question directed
Yes,
to me?
it is to me, to you, Mr. Jain.
Oh. I didn't get you. Can you repeat?
Okay, I'll just get the audio line with you sorted out in just a bit. The question I was trying to put, and let Mr. Arul take that. How do we take the opportunity, sir, to deal with other larger scale problems while we are dealing with the specificities?
Well, I think there are always opportunities when there is crisis, right? I mean, the saying, and definitely true here. I think India has definitely huge opportunities ahead of us, and post the crisis, I'm sure whether it's IT industry or non-IT industry or manufacturing in particular, electronics manufacturing, again, in more specific, the tremendous opportunities, coming our way. I think we need to have.
Well, fingers crossed. I think we need to grab them with both hands. Mr. Baer, 15 seconds on the larger premise of things. We've discussed the specificities. I've been noting them down. I've had a plan running for 45 days and all these shows, and keep noting and refining that list. But on the larger scale, how do we make 2021 the next 1991?
So So I think the big opportunity is that the world is against China now, and we have to grab that opportunity to get all the manufacturing sectors here. And luckily for us, countries like Japan have put out a 200 billion sort of
incentive, yes.
Incentive exactly for their companies to move out of China. Also, US is crying wolf over there. The European countries are very upset because they've been buying into the stock exchange. I think India did very well by putting that MHA guideline out that you cannot, if they want to invest, countries bordering India, if they want to invest in India, they need to get their approval from the government. So I think India has been very, very cautious.
Okay, plug and play. Bhanu Pratap, if you can hear me now, sir, Mr. Jain, last quick word. Plug and play, how do we get 2021 to become the next 1991?
See, the biggest challenge of working in India has been the widespread department, the red tapeism, and the sheer workload of people to get through the departments and get the work done. Now, we need to have a very simple single window system which facilitates not just the existing units, but the new units which can take this opportunity forward, which the world has just offered us now. As Mr. Ved pointed out, that the world is against China. The world is looking at India. We need to make the best of this opportunity. If we don't do work now, we lose it.
No, let us grab it with both hands. So there have to be
using it at the right time.
Well, there are few things, specifics that need to be done quickly. Doing them 2 months later will not have the same impact as doing them tomorrow.
We need to work today.
So let's do the specifics quickly.
We had to work yesterday.
And let's take the opportunity to fix a lot of things while there is consensus and state governments are in consensus right now. Let's get this done. And the plug and play on China makes perfect sense. You should be able to pack up yesterday, shift your equipment today, and start production day after from India, like as if nothing happened. Your supply chain completely changed and your customer should not change. And the FDI, which we look at a few percentage points improvement, we have to look at 3x, 4x kind of improvement. And then 2021 becomes 1991. Narendra Modi as Indian Prime Minister has to be our FDR. We leave it there. We take a break. Thank you, gentlemen.
Brilliant.